Imagine a world without democracy, without voting, without free speech, without philosophy, without science as we know it, without the Olympics. Imagine that one civilization, not an empire, not a united nation, a fractured collection of rival city-states, somehow created the foundation for modern Western civilization. That civilization was the Greek world, and its history is not a clean story of greatness, but one of chaos, genius, war, betrayal, collapse, and influence so powerful that it still shapes your life today. Greek history begins thousands of years before Athens or Sparta, around 3000 BC in the Aegean Sea, where the Minoans, Europe's first advanced civilization, built massive palaces, mastered trade, created complex art, and dominated the seas with ships that connected the ancient world long before Rome ever existed, until they suddenly vanished, whether through volcanic disaster, invasion, internal collapse, or all three. They disappeared almost overnight. Then came the Mycenaeans, hardened warrior kings who ruled from massive stone fortresses and lived in a world defined by honor, violence, and glory. This was the age that inspired legends like Agamemnon, Achilles, and the Trojan War. A story balanced between myth and history. But around 1200 BC, everything collapsed again. Cities burned, trade networks shattered, population declined, writing disappeared. Greece entered what historians call the Dark Ages, a period so severe that entire generations lived without knowing their own past. No empires, no kings, no records, only survival. Yet out of this collapse, something entirely new was born by 800 BC. Greece re-emerged not as a single power, but as dozens of independent city-states called polis, each with its own laws, customs, and identity, constantly fighting, yet bound together by shared language, shared gods, and shared myths. Geography shaped everything. Mountains isolated communities, seas connected them. And this forced Greeks to think independently, argue relentlessly, and question authority. Among these city-states, two stood above all others: Sparta, a society built entirely for war where newborns were inspected for strength. Boys were trained for battle from childhood, and personal comfort was sacrificed for military dominance. And Athens, its complete opposite, a city that valued debate over obedience, creativity over conformity, and ideas over force. And here Athens introduced one of the most dangerous ideas in human history: democracy, imperfect, limited, and excluding many, but revolutionary power, shifted away from kings and into the hands of citizens. And with this explosion of freedom came an explosion of thought. Greeks created the Olympic Games to honor the gods and celebrate human potential. They invented theater to explore tragedy, comedy, and the human condition. They pioneered history through writers like Herodotus, thematics through figures like Pythagoras, through Hippocrates, and philosophy through Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. This wasn't just a civilization. It was a way of thinking, a belief that the world could be understood, questioned, and improved. Then the Greek world faced its greatest external threat, Persian Wars. When the Persian Empire, the largest and richest empire the world had ever seen, stretched from India to the Mediterranean and invaded Greece. This was not a fair fight. A global superpower versus small divided city-states. Yet at Marathon, a citizen army shocked the world. At Thermopylae, a small Spartan force became immortal through sacrifice. And at Salamis, the Greek navy shattered Persian dominance at sea. Against impossible odds, Greece survived. And this victory forged Greek identity forever around the idea of freedom over tyranny. But triumph carried a hidden cost. Once the external enemy disappeared, the Greeks turned inward. Suspicion, unity, pride replaced cooperation, and this led to the Peloponnesian War, a brutal civil war between Athens and Sparta, democracy versus militarism, naval power versus land power, intellect versus brute force. Lasting nearly 30 years and draining the Greek world of its strength. Cities fell, populations starved, economies collapsed, trust died, and by the end, no one truly won. It was left exhausted and vulnerable. And into this weakness stepped a rising power from the north, Macedon, led by a young king who would change history forever, Alexander the Great, crowned at just 20 years old and dead by 30. Yet, in that short life, he conquered the Persian Empire, Egypt, Mesopotamia, and pushed into India, creating the largest empire the world had ever seen at the time. But Alexander's true achievement was not conquest, it was fusion. He spread Greek language, art, architecture, and philosophy across continents, creating the Hellenistic world, a blended civilization where Greek ideas mixed with Eastern cultures, producing advances in science, engineering, astronomy, and medicine. Cities like Alexandria became centers of knowledge where scholars attempted to collect and understand all human learning. And even after Alexander's sudden death, his influence refused to die. His generals carved his empire into kingdoms, but Greek culture remained dominant, shaping the ancient world for centuries. Eventually, Rome rose and conquered Greece militarily. But here lies the ultimate twist of history. Rome did not erase Greek culture. Rome surrendered to it intellectually. Roman elites studied Greek philosophy. Roman religion absorbed Greek gods. Roman education was built on Greek models. And because Rome went on to shape Europe, Greek ideas shaped the modern world. Your systems of government, your schools, your logic, your science, your politics, even the way you argue and reason trace back to Greece. The Greek world did not fall. It transformed from city-states into ideas, from borders into influence, from armies into thought. And thousands of years later, we are still living inside the world they built. Because the Greek world did not just make history, it made civilization.